everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Places in News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and today we will be discussing some important places that have been in news from the perspective of your exam. So let us begin with the first place that we are doing amongst the global category, that is Fuego volcano. So when we are talking about this volcano, this has been in news because of the extreme eruption that has taken place in this volcano, and we have seen the volcanic ash going up to more than 15,000 feet. Furthermore, we have seen that Fuego volcano, which is home to over more than 1.5 million around the valleys which are surrounding this volcano are present, and because of this volcano there is a constant threat in terms of ash falls and also avalanches that can be caused, apart from the potential lahars that can be created by the volcanic eruption. Now when we are talking about Fuego volcano, it is located in South America in the country Guatemala. So when we are talking about Guatemala, you have to see that if you look in the Central American belt, Guatemala is situated right here, and when we are talking about Fuego volcano, it is one of three major stratovolcanoes which are present very close to Guatemala's own capital, Antigua. Now there are three volcanoes, as I said, which are present. We have AC Tango, then we have Agua, and then we have Fuego volcano, and these are situated in very close proximity to the capital. Now the elevation here is not much, only 3,000. The elevation here is 3,763 meters, and it is of great significance because it is part of Central American volcanic arc, which starts from Guatemala and extends up and until Panama. So we see Guatemala here. Let me zoom this out for you. So when we are talking about Guatemala being present here and Panama is here, so this arc extends from here to here. Furthermore, when we are talking about this particular volcano, we have to understand that it lies in the Pacific Ring of Fire, situated right here. And if you have to understand the tectonic context, you will be able to see that this is Cocos Plate and then we have Caribbean Plate right here. Now it is the subduction of Cocos Plate beneath the Caribbean Plate which results in the tectonic as well as volcanic activity in this region and also for the Fuego volcano. Another important thing that you need to remember, that it is a steep stratovolcano. So this also brings us into types of volcanoes. So when we are talking about stratovolcanoes, also known by the name composite volcanoes. They are the ones which are tall, steep and conical looking volcanoes which are found mostly along the subduction zone, which is very common in Pacific Ring of Fire itself. So when we are talking about composite volcanoes, they are made with the layers of lava, then we have ash and also volcanic debris. When we are talking about these type of volcanoes, here we get to see that the lava which is flowing out, it is highly viscous, and that is why we get to see that they become cooler and we have steep slopes here, and the eruptions are also extreme and explosive in nature. When we are talking about this particular region, we also have a very important ecological dimension around it, that the surrounding slopes around this are used for agriculture. That means it economically contributes, but the problem here is this region is highly vulnerable to eruptions. That means this particular region is prone to loss of life because of this very natural disaster. When we are talking about this particular region, we need to understand about this in detail because we have to understand it from the dimension of strategic and also human safety, as it is one of the most active volcanoes globally. So there is a constant threat to the settlements which are around. That means the impact will be economic as well, there will be environmental impact, and there will be a huge challenge in constant monitoring and also ensuring evacuation, disaster management, which will be at the end of governance. From the perspective of exams, becomes very important as a case study example in GS1 and also GS3 disaster management. Now on this note, we will be moving to the next place, that is East China Sea. Now East China Sea has been in news because China's Coast Guard has patrolled Japan held islands, and this has happened daily, and this recent confrontation has happened in East China Sea. Now to understand this better, we have to understand the location of East China Sea. You can see clearly here we have a marginal sea. You can see clearly here East China Sea is a marginal sea of Pacific Ocean. This is Pacific Ocean here. So it's a marginal sea, and here it lies between China in the west, then we have Japan in the east, and then we have Taiwan in south. It is connected to Yellow Sea in north, and then we also have South China Sea and also Philippine Sea in south. Now this is the East China Sea and South China Sea, which forms the whole China Sea, which is also used for geopolitical purposes and naming from China's end. Furthermore, when we are talking about East China Sea, another important thing that we need to remember in context of physiographical features is the fact that it has a huge continental shelf, which becomes a very good ground for rich fisheries, and it also has undersea gas fields. That is why you will be able to understand why there is always contention between China and Japan for East Japan Sea and the exclusive economic zone outlined there. The contention is also for a very important island in the East China Sea. Can you tell me the name of that particular island in the comment section? And East China Sea also plays a very important role in climatic understanding because it directly influences the monsoon of East Asia. And another important factor here is that this is a typhoon prone region. So when we are talking about this region, it becomes significant for us in terms of studying from the perspective of importance of strategic and geopolitical location, geopolitically active location, that is, it has dispute over Senkaku and Diaoyu Islands, and it has always remained a flashpoint in Indo-Pacific geopolitics. Because you cannot forget, we have very closely located other countries around as well, South Korea, North Korea, and Taiwan then in south. Furthermore, economically becomes very important because of rich fishing grounds, potential oil and gas reserves, and from the perspective of environment and disaster management, we have to remember that when we are talking about conservation, overfishing is a problem, marine pollution is an issue, and that needs to be managed. From the perspective of governance, a very important factor here is the interpretation of UNCLOS and exclusive economic zones and the disputes around it. So that is why this is not going to just help you in GS2 in terms of international relation, maritime security, but also when we are talking about essay and other pointers in and around Indo-Pacific power rivalry. Now we will be moving towards the next place that we are covering today, that is Canada. Canada has been in news because the recent upgrade that we see between India and Canada relations. Furthermore, it is expected that Canada's PM might be visiting India soon for yet another trade deal in sight for India. So when we are talking about Canada, let us start with the location. Located in North American continent, in the northernmost region, it is circled by US in south, then Alaska, which is again non-contiguous state of US in north, and then we have Arctic Ocean in north, we have Atlantic Ocean on the other side, and Pacific Ocean on the west. Furthermore, when we are understanding Canada, we have to also keep in mind the physiography of this particular country, because it is known for the Canadian Shield, the house of minerals for this country, then we have Rocky Mountains and Arctic tundra in this very region. So when we are talking about Canadian Shield and then Arctic tundra, this marks a very important climatic context for us as well, because we see subarctic and Arctic climates dominant in this country, and from the perspective of geography, this extensive Arctic coastlines give them an edge in terms of accessibility, in terms of better resources in future, because we can already expect ices melting off in that particular region. From the perspective of your exam, it becomes significant because it is a key NATO member and it has huge importance in the growing Arctic geopolitics, especially with this US Greenland issue and the threat that is looming over existence of NATO. Then economically, Canada has always been rich in minerals, energy resources and a powerful country that we need to cover. Then we have environmental and climatic factors. Arctic warming, the effect will be seen on the country. Wildfires which have increased in the country, environmental factor. And permafrost also melting. Furthermore, from the context of IR, you have to remember that recent times India and Canada relations have seen a huge dip as well. It is just from the last year, since when PM Carney came into the picture for Canada, the situation has turned better, but before that it was worsening. So that also becomes important from the perspective of internal security in your exam. When we are talking about governance, indigenous rights and climate governance, a huge topic that can be taken as a case study from the perspective of exam, directly relevant for global groupings, geopolitics, internal security, climate change, all of these factors, and also geography. Now on this note, we will be moving to the next particular place that we are covering in the Indian category. We will be covering first the new Ramsar sites which have been added from India. The first one, Patna Bird Sanctuary in Uttar Pradesh. So when we are talking about Patna Bird Sanctuary, it is located in Etah district, situated in Gangetic Plains, and it is surrounded by multiple perennial lakes. That means these lakes have flow of water all the year. Furthermore, if you talk about this particular region, physiography looks like of alluvial plains and wetland ecosystem. The climatic feature is that they have subtropical monsoon climate, and most important part that you need to remember that they are part of Indo-Gangetic migratory bird route. So very important for migratory birds. Other than that, when we are talking about this particular location, this becomes important because of the ecological significance, because it is an important wintering ground for migratory birds. It has ecotourism potential. It can be an added site in Uttar Pradesh for the tourism circuit. Wetlands are important for support of groundwater recharge. So important from the perspective of environment as well. And then when we are talking about governance, wetland rules, Ramsar site, the recognition, the protection that comes with it becomes very important in this context. Now we will be moving to the next Ramsar site which has also been selected. That is ChHari Dhand wetland, and this is present in Gujarat, that in Kutch district. Now it is situated in the Great Run of Kutch region. That means this is very different from the one that we have been just talking about. This has seasonal saline wetland. Now the other one was perennial, it was alluvial. This is seasonal and saline. It has flat saline plains present. The climate here is arid to semi-arid, and it is also part of the migratory route for flamingos and cranes which are seen. Can you tell me in the comment section what is the international migratory routes of flamingos and cranes? Now when we are talking about this location, this is also significant for your exam because it is an important habitat for migratory birds, recently labelled as Ramsar site. Sensitive saline ecosystem which is limited present in our country. It is an important place for support to pastoral as well as local communities. And from the perspective of governance, definitely the wetland, the rules, the Ramsar site recognition, all of this becomes important. Now on this we will be moving, on this note we will be moving to the next one that we are covering today, that is Tehri Lake. Tehri Lake has been in news because of unfortunate incident that took place where two paragliders had an accident, but fortunately they were rescued. Now when we are talking about Tehri Lake, the location here is of great significance. It is located in the Garhwal district of Uttarakhand, and it is formed by the Tehri Dam reservoir. Now this dam is on the Bhagirathi river, and it has proper Himalayan terrain present which is mountainous in nature. Furthermore, we get to see Himalayan temperate climate here, and this is one of the part of main Ganga river system itself. Now when we are talking about Tehri Dam, it is also important for us to know that it is not significant only in form of hydropower and water storage, but it is also a prominent site for tourism and local employment. But it has seismic concerns associated with it and reservoir induced risk because it is man-made, the capacity is huge. And from the governance perspective, we need to understand dam safety and environmental clearances around it as well. So this becomes very important from the perspective of GS3 where we talk about energy infrastructure. And on this note, we will be moving to the next place we are doing today, that is Hooghly River. It has been in news because West Bengal has invited bids for a terminal on Hooghly River. Now, when we are talking about Hooghly River, very important river in the West Bengal region, it is a distributary of Ganga River. Can you tell me the difference between tributary and distributary in the comment section? When we are talking about this particular river, it flows majorly through West Bengal and it passes through the capital of West Bengal as well, that is Kolkata. It distincts from Ganga at Farakka barrage itself. It distincts away from Ganga at Farakka barrage itself, and then it flows through west of Bengal. It is known for the alluvial deltaic plains that it makes, the monsoon flow regimes, especially in terms of climatic context, and it is a very important inland waterway, national waterway 1, the extension is present here. So this becomes very important from that perspective. Apart from that, it is one of the main rivers which supports Kolkata port and inland navigation, but it has environmental concerns such as severe pollution and industrial discharge. From the context of governance, multiple things such as Namami Gange program, river rejuvenation, all of this has been importantly connected, and it has been prone to flooding and siltation for very long. So becomes very important from the perspective of GS1 and GS3, and that was all from my side. Thank you so much.